Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Dr. Rhonda Roehrig, the owner of Career Balance LLC, joining us again here to talk more about the work she does. Excited to have you back. How are you?
Doing fine, Jill. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a Friday. Can't be better, right? It's
It
always, you
is a
get that
Friday. It's a happy
TGIF
Friday.
Friday mood. Yes. So that's a good start. And what you're doing, helping people reaching their goals. Could you tell us a little bit about the services you do?
Sure. So I provide confidential one-on-one coaching services to individuals and groups, and I do professional development training. And yeah, all confidential. That's pretty important to me, but it's all services to help you reach your goals.
Perfect. Well, let's find out how we can contact you as well. What is a website?
So the website is careerbalance.org. Or you can reach me by sending me an email at Rhonda, that's RHONDA, at careerbalance.org, or you can call me directly at 920-960-8821.
Perfect. And I know you obviously are a helper, innate helper born this way. Always wanting to help people. Hence, you have this business and you've been helping so many with team building, coaching, and so much more. Do you want to share a little bit about all the work you do? And then we'll get into today's specifics, which, by the way, I still don't have, but I know you will guide us along okay.
I've got it. I've got it covered.
Thank you.
Yeah. So help professionals in business settings, career related, as well as personal related. So health goals and those types of things. So I'm certified in positive psychology, health and well-being, but I also have certifications for, emotional intelligence and so those types of things that work really well in business settings.
Good. Well, we're excited to have you back here. And where did you want to start for today?
So I thought today I would talk a little bit about career transitions. I'm finding that is really a heavy topic now, and with people changing positions and either proactively or reactively changing positions. So, if you can think about if you've ever known someone or have had this happen to yourself, where you find that you're unsatisfied in your job, you frustrated, you start feeling knots in your stomach on Sunday night because Monday morning's coming and you got to go back to work. Those kinds of things, you're not able to sleep, and you just know that it's just not a really good situation. And although you may know that something has to change, this isn't healthy. You might also be asking yourself, well, I don't even know where to start. I don't know who to call. I don't know who I can talk to about it. I don't have the time to do something else. So there's all these questions that come up, and then you might ask yourself, or you might say to yourself, well, it's not so bad. I can handle this for a little bit longer, or, I don't have really any options. And those all may be true and legitimate questions to ask, but I would have you consider other questions that you could be asking yourself. Like, what would the future be like if you were in a career that really fit you? When was the last time you really enjoyed the whole day at work? How will my family and friends be impacted if I came home with less stress? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? So asking some of those questions, I think are just as valuable as asking yourself the other questions. So it's really looking at it from a positive standpoint, from if it were better, what could be possible, or is it possible? So sometimes all of those obstacles just really get in our way of moving on, or of making change. And I like to equate this with an analogy. So if you think about, I don't know about you where you live, but here I live in Wisconsin. I live just off of a marsh, so it gets really foggy sometimes around here. And when it's foggy and I need to go out and I need to drive somewhere, I find that it's really challenging
Yeah.
because I'm in my car. Yeah, I gotta have the lights on. Um, I'm driving slower because I can't see in front of me very far.
Hmm.
I don't have those landmarks, along the road that I typically, use as guides. And it's slow going and I'm tense and it's challenging. When really, when fog lifts and the sun comes out and starts clearing everything up, you have a clear vision. You can see where you're going. You can get there quicker. You see those landmarks in front of you that you can reach as you're driving along, and it's pleasant, right? It can be pleasant.
Yeah.
So if you think of coaching like helping to lift the fog, all of those things that we've got, uh, all those negative thoughts and all of the frustration, and those can all be kind of like fog. They're impeding our ability to see really clearly. And once you lift that fog, you're able to see your goals maybe a little bit more clearly, or you can see that things are possible. You can see color again, right? I think sometimes we are living in black and white
Yeah.
and not really living in color. And so that idea of lifting the fog. So that's one analogy of I think what coaching does is it
Yeah,
helps us
I like that. Yes, lately
fog.
I have my eyes are going bad, so now I have the same problem driving in the rain. I can't believe how hard it is. And I always remember my mom saying that, and I'm like, oh, I had good eyes, and I'm like, oh, it's easy to drive in the rain. And now I'm realizing it is so difficult. I really have to slow down, tell my kids not to talk. I'm just like this. I just don't feel comfortable. There's no landmarks I could see. There's nothing I could
Yeah,
understand the fog, and it makes sense. That's a great
yeah,
way to put it, put it out there about coaching to help us see through that fog or see through that rain on the
mhm,
windshield. And
yeah,
I mean, I have a lot of friends, and I'm sure you have a lot of friends and clients that have kind of pivoted their careers right since the pandemic. A lot of people had no choice but to change. And have you
mhm,
seen an uptick in that from the pandemic itself? Because so many people did, right? They lost their jobs and had to reinvent themselves.
yeah,
What a scary thing.
yeah. It's super scary. What we do in our jobs is just so part of our own lives. And when those things happen and when we lose our jobs or things
Hmm.
change, it really affects us personally because we think it is personal because that's our life, right?
Yeah.
And it really impacts us very negatively. But yeah, I think the pandemic really had a lot of people, not being able to do their current jobs. So they may not necessarily have gotten fired, but
Hmm.
their job changed and it wasn't what it was before. So really, in a sense, they did lose their job. They lost what they knew of and have to look at something different. So it's making that shift and trying to um, help look at, well, what else could be possible? When you're not really looking for it, you don't have to. You
Yeah.
don't have to really look for anything. But when you're forced in that position, then it's really scary. It's that unknown is just terrifying to think of. What do I do next? How do I make that transition?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Well,
yeah.
thank you for bringing up this topic, and we're going to talk more about it and how you're helping clients. Let's just remind everyone how we can reach out to you. Would you mind sharing?
Sure. My website is careerbalance.org. My email is rhonda@careerbalance.org and phone number 920-960-8821.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being here. And again, career transitions is our topic for today. And a lot of people have these obstacles, like you said, bringing that clear vision. So, how did you want to talk about, the self-doubt? You have an example that you want to share?
Yeah, yeah, I have an example. So I worked with a woman who is in IT, so very gifted technically. So IT, that's a very technical career, but also was very good at communicating. So that made her really unique to have both those skill sets. And she was in her career not really satisfied, not feeling like she was utilizing herself to her fullest.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked, she would say, well, I love the people I work with. I really enjoy my job. And, they're giving me, these token raises, maybe a job title change. But she still just wasn't satisfied with what she was doing. She felt that there was more that she could offer. And there kept being these conversations of, well, I have such good friends, and they really are being good to me, and almost making excuses or justifying staying. And really, it was helping her to have those lift. That was almost like the fog was keeping her at that position where she wasn't really able to see what the next thing was.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, just kind of staying in the black and white, fog was okay. But after identifying a clear, when that fog kind of lifted, to see that clear vision of there could be more, um, she ended up finding her dream career. So a career that really fit her well, that she's very successful in. And she confided in me later and said, I'm making more money now than I ever dreamed I would make. And that really wasn't even her motivation. Her motivation to move wasn't financial motivation, was it was a satisfaction motivation. So I really viewed that as kind of icing on the cake. That wasn't even something that she had initially thought of, but allowing herself to see clearly what vision she might be able to have just benefited her.
Perfect. Love it.
So
Love it. Love it.
yeah, so just kind of doubting herself and whether she could actually do it, seeing, identifying what that goal was clearly, was really, I think, really important. I mean, you have to see where you're going, kind of like, driving in the fog. It really helps when you can visualize what it is that you're going to,
Yep.
right? Yeah, so helping her through self-doubt, was just really satisfying for me to see her grow through that process and really own the gift that she had. So that's one of the areas of coaching. Often people ask me, well, what kinds of things do you coach on? And that would be one, looking at how to help lift obstacles or move obstacles away so that you can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, you mentioned, this is a great example of a lot of people doubt themselves, and we all doubt ourselves, and there brings fear, it brings anxiety, it brings, but one thing in particular that stood out before that you mentioned is that feeling on a Sunday night, knowing you have to go to a job that you don't want to. That great, I've had it. That I don't have it now. Thank goodness. I love what I do. I get to talk to so many amazing people, and it's fascinating. But I used to have a job that I wasn't so happy with, and
Mhm.
now knowing that I've been there, I've got over it. I have a new job. I've done. It's like, wow, that enough it surpasses the self-doubt and the fear of that, because I'm just telling you, in my shoes, you can feel so much better, and it's just amazing. Forget the self-doubt. You got to try. You got to at least try, right? And if you're working with a coach, they could guide you along the process. So I'm just a big believer
Yeah.
in that. Wow. And you got to
Yeah.
take that leap of faith, as you say, right? There's a client that you
Yeah.
want to share their story.
Yeah. So leap of faith is kind of how clients describe what it feels like. And so this sort of leap of faith was really interesting. So um, this gentleman I was working with was really unhappy in his position, and it was really literally making him sick. The stress, his feeling of unsupportedness at work, micromanager could never do anything right. It was physically
Mm-hmm.
making him sick. He was going to the doctor. He was physically sick.
Yeah.
So really recognize that, gosh, this isn't so good. I really should probably make a change. But the fear of changing really paralyzed him. He didn't know what to do. It's just that fear. Well, I don't know of anything else. It's that fear of unknown. And So really working through that and being patient and understanding and recognizing that this is really hard. Even though it's an easy decision, it's difficult, or a simple decision, I guess it's not easy. And so over time, really began to see that there could be something different. There could be something better. We could make an actual change. And so through that process, found, a career, job opening, and got his materials already, applied for it, interviewed, got this job. And in looking back in hindsight, he really did take this leap of faith. He didn't know whether it was going to actually be better because he hadn't done anything
Yep.
different before.
Totally.
And so having that just leap of faith, and went ahead and did that, and now is in a supportive, career. Like, he loves his supervisor. Um, he's challenged. He has autonomy. All of those things that really were important to him, he now has in this position, and his health has magically improved. Like, say that kind of tongue in cheek, but it really has. The stress has been diminished, and it really has made him healthier. So taking that leap of faith really was key for him. Facing that fear, and curing fear is action. I don't say action cures fear. So if you're afraid of something and you are frozen or paralyzed, that fear can just grow and grow and grow and become huge. But it's the actions that we take that can help to diminish the fear. The fear goes away. It gets smaller as you are active, as you're moving forward. So yeah, so another real common coaching is just kind of coaching through that process.
Perfect. And did you want to give us some more tips in a sense? And, I know you have a little bit of a breakdown, right, for these career transition
Yeah.
tips. And before we
Yes.
do so, don't forget who we're talking to, because you may be just tuning in saying, who, what, Dr. Who, Rhonda Roehrig? She owns Career Balance, based out of Wisconsin, but she's helping people all over with psychology-based type coaching services that provides individuals and groups to really gain their goals, career, health, so much more. So go to careerbalance.org. And again, I'll ask that we continue, please.
All right. So some tips.
Yeah.
And these tips, I will tell you, are both from my experience in coaching and also my personal experiences. Because I too have had some career transitions in my life, and I kind of view them as the proactive and the reactive. So the proactives are the ones where it's like, things aren't going so well. I think it's time that I start preparing to do something different. I kind of see the writing on the wall, and I'm going to be proactive, and maybe I don't need it, but I'm going to do that ahead of time. The other is reactive, where it's, your position has been eliminated. If you've ever been in that situation where they say, you're a great worker, but you know what, your job is being eliminated. We're restructuring, and we're either letting you go, or it may be your job's eliminated, but we're going to give you this other job, or you have an opportunity to do this other job that, by the way, is less pay and more work, and not as many benefits, but at least you have a job. So I don't know. I've seen quite a few people in that situation as well. I actually was in one of those situations where the position was eliminated, but yet this great offer of another position that wasn't really a great offer was offered. And so as you manage through those transitions, the first thing I think as a tip is to manage your emotions. The emotions are real. There's frustration, there's anxiety, there's disappointment, there's hurt. There's a lot that goes along with that. And I think you should feel all of those things because they're real.
Yeah.
However, we don't want to hold on to them. We can't harbor them and point fingers because really we have to look at it from a standpoint of owning what our role was in that as well. It isn't always a one-way street, it's a two-way street. So looking at that emotion and not having it overtake you. Again, looking more positive from a positive perspective. So managing emotions.
Perfect.
Another one is seeking expert advice.
Like
I
yourself.
think
Yes.
like a coach. Yep, absolutely. So a coach, a mentor, a pastor, someone that is a professional that you trust. Sometimes they're going to have a better guidance than family and friends who are meaning well, but they may not steer you in the right path. So seeking expert advice is a great tip. Another one is a support system. So
Okay.
I know in one breath I said, I don't want to go with friends and family for advice. However, you do want to have a support system, and not a support system that's going to just jump on the bandwagon with you and ride all of your negative emotions. And you want someone that's going to be more objective and not toxic. So careful with your support system, but you do need a support system. And the last tip I would have is to be kind to yourself. We beat ourselves up enough over things, and especially in job changes, you can, really be negative or down on yourself about the situation you're in and how you're ever going to get out of it, and what did you do, and you can be really negative to yourself. And this is simply not the time to be doing that. It's really the time to be caring for yourself and giving yourself some grace in this, what is going to be a difficult situation. So transitions are difficult. So being kind to
Be
yourself.
kind to yourself. Yes, the last and final.
I know, be kind to yourself. Of course, be kind to others too, because you don't know what they're going through. But I think definitely be kind to yourself. You're good. You have worth. I've often said to people who are in this transition where they've been downsized or they've been given a lesser role and feel like they are being penalized. And I often ask them, you may think that you are less than now because of whatever the situation was, but just because someone else doesn't recognize your worth doesn't mean your worth has changed. You still are valued and you still have all the same gifts that you had prior to hearing whatever this news was. And just because someone else doesn't recognize it doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there. So
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here. Would you mind sharing how we can contact you?
Sure. You can contact me on my website at careerbalance.org. On that website, you'll also see a complimentary assessment. So go ahead and take that, or you can reach out with me there. My email is Rhonda, RHONDA, at careerbalance.org, and phone number 920-960-8821.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. Looking forward to the next time we connect again, okay?
Sounds great. Have a great Friday.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the weekend, and please reach out. Great conversation. Always very thorough, and I'm glad I was able to follow along with all this today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.